Hello everybody, my name is Sara and I'm on the podcast for NOVAsia. We are here today with 3 other people to talk about the US elections. If we want to start on that end, and I'll introduce ourselves.
Okay, so my name is Dmitriy.
I'm Leslie.
I'm Isabelle.
And like I said, I'm Sara, and today we're going to be discussing the 2020 US elections that are currently ongoing. No final count has been announced yet, but according to the Associated Press, Google, and the New York Times, Joe Biden is currently in the lead. So we're here with 2 people who are Americans and 2 people who are not Americans.
I'm from Kazakhstan, guys. I don't even know things about what's your Western world.
No, but it's good to know what non-Americans, how they see it from a farther away. It's really good.
Good to know what they think.
Yeah.
Canada is a bit closer.
We're just on the top, kind of looking down. There was a lot of
you made
tweets
some
about
more
it.
distance with yourself.
Yeah. No, there were so many tweets going around that some of my friends were reposting or retweeting, and it was just who wants to grab the popcorn and see what's going down below us? And I was just I was like, I'm on the other side of the world right now. I don't want to know. I'm just gonna be happy where I am.
Just sit in contented ignorance.
So where are you guys from in America?
I'm from Arizona,
Okay.
I'm from Missouri.
so 2 different parts.
So, but they're really close. But yeah, Missouri is more, it's been pretty Republican for, I don't know, decades, I think. It's more Republican. So I grew up with a lot of, yeah.
Yeah, Arizona is also usually a Republican state, but this election actually, some people have called Arizona for Democrat, for blue, this is the first time it happened since 1996, I think.
Oh.
It was a long time ago. Yeah, so that was very surprising. But.
Wow. So were you guys able to vote while you were abroad, or did you have to kind of just sit back and watch this one? Was it too hard?
It's hard not to vote when you when you're online. Everyone in 6 months ago, leading up to elections, were vote, 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 and so it was on your mind. So they did make it pretty. They gave a lot of different ways for people who live abroad or are abroad at the time of voting to be able to send in a ballot.
But I heard that for South Korean voters, well, some of them, that you had really high costs to pay to get your ballot expedited, because right now you can only expedite packages out of Korea.
Yeah, because of coronavirus.
Yeah,
it's expensive. But I mean, expediting is better so that it doesn't get lost. But I know some of my friends who are abroad in Japan said that they had the issue of their mail getting lost when they tried to vote. So it was complicated. They gave a lot of ways, but didn't really give any instruction on how to use those
so
ways.
It was notions, but nothing here's how to do it step by step. We're going to ensure everything's
basically.
okay.
You had to be proactive, and not a lot of people have the time or the initiative to really get into it when they're abroad, I think.
Yeah.
And then is there issues with needing an ARC card, or sorry, I guess now it's the permanent residence card, or did you have to coordinate with an embassy in order to vote abroad, or how does?
I mean, I did not so. As far as I knew, you also had the option to vote online. And not a lot of people went for that option, but I
didn't know it existed. Yeah,
it exists as far as I know. I was on the official website. It's given to me by the people who government employees, and so I used that, and that's what I voted with. So it seemed fine to me and less expensive than expediting anything. But I didn't have to really go into anything.
And do you think it differed by state, or do you think it was just universal for America? There was given different options, because I know I'm not American, I'm from Canada, but on our news we were told that each state had its own laws about if you could do mail-in, how you could do mail-in, how you could, I guess, vote online, how you could not, different deadlines. It seemed very confusing that each state
does
differ
per state.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's very complicated. All those deadlines differ per state. The only thing that's the same basically is the in-person voting day is always the same.
So online it was the same? You had different rules for different states?
Yeah, I was on the Missouri site.
Oh.
Voting.
That might be a thing. Arizona probably doesn't have online voting.
I see. Okay. Yeah, so
I don't know for sure, but
Oh.
that might be it. So.
And you can't really go to any other website of any other state to vote?
No, you have to
Just your
vote
own?
in your state of residence.
Oh,
Yeah.
my.
because you're not
Okay.
voting just for the president. You're voting for
your
People in your state?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then also people in your county, which make up the states.
because there's different laws in different states as well. So
Yeah, that's complicated.
It is very complicated.
I remember when they were trying to teach us all the government systems like in middle school, and all of us students were like, what the heck? The electoral college, and like, what does that even mean?
I
And
know.
so-
Like most
I
Americans
still don't know.
Yeah, there's like a popular and then a college, and I was just always just like, why two? And how do you decide which one is like the one that you?
Can you
yeah.
please explain it to me like briefly, because I still don't understand what's the difference between electoral what's that
Yeah,
electoral,
and the
yeah.
percentage, because in other countries it's just like who wins the election and then there is a percentage of like people who voted, and that's it. Like if you got 60% you won, but in the US it seems different, right?
Yeah, well, for the Electoral College, each state has a number of representatives that is proportionate to the state's population. Like my state has 10. I think Missouri has about the same, don't you?
I actually don't remember.
Maybe a couple less, maybe. But Arizona has 10, but like California has like 40
Yeah.
because their population is huge, and Texas
Okay.
has like 30 something. And those representatives are elected by the people in each state, and then the elected representatives have to vote. But obviously they want to vote like with the popular vote in their state, otherwise they're not going to get reelected, that kind of thing. That's as far as I understand it. It could not be entirely correct, but
Yeah. It was originally created to like give the states like a certain amount of power.
yeah.
But it's confusing because like if in California it's like this election is super super close in a lot of states, and so if in California they had like 51% voted for this guy and 49% voted for this guy, it doesn't matter because the 51% will make all 40 of the electoral all of them go to that particular president. And so there have been some cases like the 2016 election where the person who got the popular vote lost the election because they didn't get the electoral votes, and those are most important. So a lot of people don't like the system, or they just think it's weird.
Yeah, that was a big thing in 2016 because Trump actually lost the
Yeah.
popular
Yeah, I
vote.
remember that. I remember hearing that Hillary got like more than Trump, but eventually she lost, and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Why does it happen in America?
So on your ballot when you're like voting, does it say like Biden or Trump, or is it the person who casts electoral votes? Like when you voted, like what options did you have? Like do you vote for your representative of your
You
state or for the actual like party candidates? Like does it say Trump or does it say
It says
it says
Trump.
it says the
Trump
candidate's
and
name.
Biden.
Yeah.
And
And
it'll
Trump,
have-
Biden, and all the
And all the like the Green Party,
the
like-
Green Party, the Independent Party,
Okay,
and the
yeah.
write-in or whatever.
I don't even know that one. So
Yeah, you can like write in. a
the
candidate.
write-in. I thought that was important. Okay.
Yeah, write-in.
Yes. The write-in is a weird one.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, suppose it should be there, but people who don't take the election seriously can write in like
in the 2016 election, people wrote in Harambe.
yeah.
A lot of people wrote in
It's a
Harambe.
gorilla, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now in CIS we are like memeing this election thingy in America, like saying, "Oh, here we go again, hackers," and all
I
this
think every
stuff.
country has their own memes about it.
Yeah, we just like I'm crossing the street for example, an old lady crossing the street, and she obviously struggles for survival, and she's like, "Who's gonna win in American election?" And so like we have our own problems, but we keep a close eye on American election. And we're like, why? We have our own problems. We don't get to elect, and the memes go so wild about this. Basically, I know like the situation more from memes. I know that Kanye West, like he voted for himself, right? And that was meme too, and, and everything. Yeah.
Right now, all the memes in America are because so Biden right now, with the projecteds right now, if he wins Nevada, he will win.
Mm-hmm.
But Nevada has been just like counting for 2 days, and so all the memes right now are about how slow Nevada's counting because they're 50th in education as well. So there's a lot of memes about that.
There was like this really wonderful meme. It was like this little league game. So like these little kids are playing baseball, and so like this kid was walking really slowly towards the base. I think he was just like trying to walk. Like you saw this, he was like walking really slowly on purpose. So the coach came over and tried to help him along, and like Nevada was written across the kid's shirt. Like, over the meme. The kid was like, "No."
We'll
I
have
like
to
the
include
one-
those memes in the video.
Yeah.
I like the one with where it's like, this is the guy counting ballots in Nevada, and it has the sloth from Zootopia who works at the DMV.
Now I know a bit more than I used to about the
Just in
elections.
these few minutes, great.
Yeah, education system works.
Yeah, there's some coming out from Canada of like keeping the border closed, and there's just like this, like there was one going around which was like one Canadian on one side just kind of like waving on the other side, and it was just in fire, and I was just like, maybe this is why we're not always liked by other people. Just kind of peering over, because that's one thing that's in discussion right now is, do we reopen the border for American tourism? And right now it's overwhelmingly like, let's wait until the election's done, then we'll decide. And then it's like, whoever wins the election, I guess.
Well, I mean,
Well,
whoever
what
wins the
people
election
can-
is going to change the fate of coronavirus in America.
Oh,
so.
that's very true. Your numbers are still going up, aren't they?
Yeah,
We had like our highest amount just recently, like 107,000 people in
Yeah.
one day.
Man.
Yeah.
Isn't
So,
it like the world record or something? One day.
We have the most still in the world. I stopped
Yeah.
checking a while ago because I was depressed. So
Oh.
yeah.
Good to be in Korea.
Yeah, I don't know this has been a situation in Missouri, but Arizona is like one of the worst states
Oh,
too.
really? Yeah, Missouri's pretty bad. So, and my parents still live there, and so I'll call them. But my mom actually she has to go out for her work, and so
Yeah.
she'll call me every now and again, and she's like, "Well, I'm on my way to this place or this place for this kind of ceremony," and I'm like, "Be careful!" Like, I just get, because a lot of people do not wear their mask in the area, and you
Oof.
probably heard about that a lot, like
Yeah.
people refusing to wear masks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So
'cause
I'm
you're from
always
a small town too, right?
Yeah, really small town. Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, people not wearing masks. That
Mhm.
looks such like so wild here in Korea because everybody wears masks here, and I'm like, okay, I didn't even know that people around the world don't wear masks, and I was like shocked. But yeah, here in Korea is safe.
I saw one person like fully not wearing a mask, like not even on their chin, walking down the street, and like I was looking at them and I was trying to figure out what was wrong with the situation, because like it didn't like. I guess I'm so used to people seeing like with a mask on now that I was like, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, and then I suddenly was like, they're not wearing a mask. I was just
At
like,
this point, I feel weird without it because I started
Yeah.
wearing a mask back in January when I was here. I was like, I have to go out every day. I'm going to put a mask on the subway. Like,
Yeah. It's I get struck by people's faces. Like when I see someone and their whole face is showing, I'm like, look, like they have so I don't know, like they have
mouth.
an appearance, and like I don't know, you just notice people so much more when you can see their face, which I guess makes sense. But not that I want to see their faces. Right now I don't. I really don't.
What people in Canada, I was wondering, what people in Canada like want to see in this election? Maybe like who do you root for?
I think for majority of Canadians, well, because right now we have a liberal government. We moved away from conservative for about, I think we don't do terms also, so I don't know how to like explain that. So like you don't get elected for like one term and then 2 terms and then you can't do anymore. You're allowed to just keep going. You don't have a limit of that. So we had someone named Stephen Harper. Prime Minister Harper was the leader of Canada for a very long time. And then now it's Justin Trudeau, and he's for the Liberal Party. So he was brought in because people were tired of the conservative government. So because the majority of Canada is Liberal, I think the majority is for Joe Biden over Trump, especially because Trump has been causing us a lot of problems.
he's been causing a lot of people a lot of problems.
I'd say because we have a liberal government, a lot of people are hoping that Joe Biden is ushered into office for America. We think that probably Trudeau, even though he's not always the most popular, he could get a lot done with Biden. And since we don't have a limit of terms, Trudeau could be reelected. He's already been reelected once. So he could be reelected again very shortly. So.
Okay. I guess it makes sense for Canada to just wait.
Yeah.
Because now it's like a very strict condition.
Yeah.
And maybe it changes over time.
It's an interesting time, I think, because as much as people might not want to admit it, we're really reliant on Americans.
True.
American trade, American finance. They really, like, it's one of the reasons they're a powerhouse country. Good job, guys.
Yeah, and
You did it!
having such an important election in the middle of coronavirus too has kind of made it all even more like
Yeah.
crazy. But
Yeah, so many like things going on, especially in America, and it's so overlapping.
yeah.
Just like coronavirus, then like other movements, and then the election.
Yeah. The only thing I will say is I
Gotta
know
stay
a lot
tough.
of Trump supporters who stopped being Trump supporters because of coronavirus and his response. Like, I mean, my mother calls herself a Republican and she was a Trump supporter, but this election she was like, I'm voting for Joe Biden because Trump is an idiot. I was like, all right, as long as you know
Fair,
now.
fair.
Like, as long as you know it now. But
But a lot of people, like, they don't, I mean, what they consume, the news sources and like who they talk to, where they're from, like it has such a huge impact on like how they see Trump and how they see Biden.
yeah.
So I don't know. I it's really hard because there's just so many voices talking at people, and like who you choose to listen to will really determine how you think about these people. Because like some Democrats like don't understand at all how people could think Trump like has any sense at all.
Yeah.
But then the others will think like Biden is just blatantly a criminal, or they'll think otherwise. So yeah, I don't know. It makes me kind of like sad about how when the election turns out, no matter who wins, it'll still be like almost exactly 50-50, like divided, and people will like adhere to what they know from that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
For a lot of Republicans, I know they were Trump supporters in the first place because to them it's not about social issues, but they were trying to think in terms of like economically. And so when the Democratic candidate is too focused on social issues, they can't see that the Republican candidate is also bad. So, because obviously Trump is, I mean, the man is in debt himself. Like, he's not as good of a businessman as the Republicans want him to be. But I know that's what a lot of people that I know who were Republican in Arizona were thinking, is that it's because of, they think it shouldn't be focused on social issues and should be more about America.
The economy.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
economy and
economy.
staying a powerhouse, that kind of thing.
yeah.
Whereas, especially recent Democratic candidates have been very focused on social issues.
Yeah, and like I'm not, because I don't have that economic incentive to think about, like I have the privilege, I guess, of not having to think about that
Yeah.
so much, and so I care about the social issues more, and so I would probably be classified as more liberal because of that. Because I think that's really important. Like you see the Black Lives Matter and like all these protests and things happening in the U.S. and the division, and that's what I think is the most important thing to try to solve, more than like how well the country's doing economically and how powerful other countries see us. I'm like, that's not that important to me. But of course, I'm privileged in that because I'm not a farmer. I don't have to worry about my economics because I'm not getting it from the U.S. anymore. So I do kind of understand. I've been trying to like look at the other side. That's more how I see the election. Like, what are other sides thinking, and why are they thinking this way? That's really interesting to
I
me.
try to look at both sides.
Yeah.
But in
Yes.
Arizona especially, you can see a lot of both sides because we have the older generation tends to be more conservative and Republican, whereas the younger generation is more liberal. And Arizona has a very diverse population that people don't think about. So,
Yeah.
because we have a lot of older people because they come to Arizona because the weather is better for like if you have arthritis or bad joints and that kind of thing, and we have very good accessibility. So we have a very high population of older folks who tend to be very conservative, but then we also have that like my undergrad university, ASU, tends to be very liberal, and we have like an artsy area in downtown Phoenix, and there's a lot of more liberal younger people out there. So it's an odd mix. And then of course we have a large Hispanic population as well.
So, I see. And like, what changes do you expect from the after the election? Like, what not expect, but what would you like to see, except for the liberal reforms? As I understand that you guys both support Biden more than over Trump. And what kind of changes would you like to see from his administration?
I mean, for one, Trump just left the Paris agreement or
Yeah,
whatever. I'm
I
like,
thought
Biden's gonna go. Biden already promised to go back to that, so hoping that change.
Yeah, day one
happens.
he said, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, going back to the agreements that Trump left from.
Yeah.
Some of the agreements, yeah.
Okay.
I don't really know what other things.
Yeah, Trump's done a lot of dumb things that need to be fixed, but
I feel like America is the only country that can like withdraw from agreements without major consequences because they have this cushion of, this safety measure of being the world's top country in terms of power, economy, and in terms of like we are basically the country that releases your money, and so I feel like America is the only country that can do so.
Yeah,
So
it's
just go
definitely the
back and forth
mindset
from
that Trump
agreements.
went into a lot of his policies with, whereas I think Biden is a little more aware that he still needs to have good relationships with other people. He can't just threaten military power all the time.
Oh yeah.
So
I'm hoping for more like what I would say like left-handed power or soft power. Not so much the right-handed power that Trump is like, fire and fury or this or that. And also something that's just more stable feeling. Trump will just tweet whatever he's thinking and he'll change his mind so quickly. Perhaps he really changes his mind just so quickly, but it's like a whiplash, like every day, like what's going on? And so
I mean, that's the thing is Trump is a celebrity. He's not a politician.
Yeah, he had a what, like The Apprentice? Like he had a show before, and so he knows how to like.
He's a celebrity. He's not a politician.
After Trump got elected, the Conservative Party in Canada tried to have their representative also be a businessman. And it didn't go well. It really failed. No one was behind it. Even like conservative Canadians were like, we don't want a businessman leading us. And it was shot down very quickly. So like it was kind of interesting in America that really succeeded. And maybe it's because of like the American dream and what Trump stood for. But in Canada, it was just like, no. Like no.
It doesn't happen.
That's what I mean from earlier. It was the businessman worked because the Republicans are more focused on economic issues than social issues.
Yeah,
So
and I know a lot of people they thought he was refreshing for a politician.
Well, he
because he wasn't a
Because
politician.
he wasn't, yes, that's true.
Yeah, because most Republicans don't like politicians, which is weird. Like it doesn't make any sense, but they,
A politician must not be a politician.
yeah, basically.
So, do you think that like the relationships that Trump established kind of with North Korea will deteriorate or degrade like with Biden?
I think even if they don't deteriorate, they will certainly be different. So,
Because it's like a really, really thin line now.
yeah.
Maybe it goes back to what it was like during Obama's.
I mean, he'll still try to do denuclearization. Focus on that.
That's what I mean. It's
I
like
see.
he definitely won't want to lose everything, but
I don't really
Shane.
want. Go ahead.
no, go.
We have such like a hold or like we keep going into North Korea and trying to like control the country and the situation, and it is like a dangerous country, but I kind of want like South Korea to take a bigger like I don't know how take the lead, like take the initiative, not because right now they kind of follow like, oh, the U.S. has good relations, like let's try to have good relations, or I know Moon is trying to like have good relations just in general, but I want even like a stronger lead, and the Americans just kind of like take a little bit of step back and not I don't know.
Like be an intermediary.
Yeah,
Cut it
like
out.
an intermediary. But we're in all kinds of places in the country, like and or around the world. I mean, like we like have our foot in everything. So
Isn't America one of the few countries, if not the only country, that has military bases outside of their country, like permanent bases, like
I think so.
in like
maybe.
places where it's not necessarily like a war zone or a conflict zone?
that sounds right.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
So I remember at one time, America used to store some of their missiles, I think. Some of their like military weapons in Canada. Until Canada was like, please take them back. We don't want them. We took them after a war or something, and you guys are just like, here. And we were just like, okay, we don't want it.
It's just like you have a friend and you just like grab it. Just for a moment. I'll come back. And then the friend's like, where is he?
Take these back. I don't want them. I don't like this anymore.
Yeah, I think so, because I've never heard of like any other country having military bases. I think maybe Russia. No, they didn't. Like when it was the USSR, we obviously had military bases in like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, other like the Soviet countries. But then it became Russia, and so they took it back, or like just left it like, okay, you Kazakhstan have this thing, just leave it be. It's yours now. So we have a lot of military bases from back then, but not Russian. They're ours now. So yeah, it feels like America is the only country that has it.
I think
does
so.
Yeah, I think they are.
I kind of take back. Like I don't think that. No, I don't take. I want to reword what I said. Like I don't want us to not have not take initiative in world affairs. Like that's important, and we can't just like pull out of everything. Like we should be part of everything, but I'm just doing it differently, where it doesn't feel like we're trying to make every other country into some version of the U.S. or have the same policies. Like, yeah, that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I'll leave it there.
Well, with North Korea, I think that the point with Moon was really good, because Moon is a bit. He was like positioning himself when he was elected that he's the conservative one. He's going to make Korea like a better place to live in, and he made some effort, of course, on his part to you shake hands with Kim Jong-un. That means something, but now I don't see this development like going on. It's just like stagnated somewhere.
Yeah.
So I think and they didn't join forces with Trump, so they didn't really work on this problem together, and they had to, I think, and that's why it kind of failed. Not failed, but stopped at this point. No any development scene. So I feel like Biden, maybe he doesn't have to take the initiative, but if he doesn't take, then it's going to cool down, and return to the original point. No.
Mm-hmm.
But what can they do together to go to North Korea? It's like Biden's administration is going to be completely new, not the Trump's one. So I wonder like what Kim Jong-un is going to be feeling towards Biden's administration.
I mean, Kim Jong-un always like, I think he understands that the U.S. changes presidents often, even if they're in two terms. That's still only 8 years, and so I think he uses that to his advantage a lot of times. Like he plays the president to be like, oh no, I might have nuclear weapons, I might not. Who knows what I'm going to do? Like the relationship he messes around with a lot because it keeps the U.S. on its toes, and there's not a lot of like. It's so secretive, you can't really make a lot of progress, and then you have a new president all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And so I can't imagine it being much different than how it's already been for the past few decades of like, we see, it seems like we're doing well, and then all of a sudden they launch a missile, and then it seems like we're doing well again, and then so it'll just be, I don't see much change in that area.
That's actually one of my favorite memes out there is like the different U.S. presidents and then like the Queen of England just remaining constant. And it's just like you just see like them changing out, and she's just there, and it's just like, huh.
Oh, I am the new president. Okay, shake hands.
Yeah, that's what she does with the prime ministers too. She's like, nice to meet you. You'll be gone in a few years, and I'll still be here.
Wow.
But I feel like it's a different relationship there because Commonwealth. So
It'll
it's
be
like
interesting too, because this is the first time in a while that it will not have been a two-term president, right?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Actually,
Because-
I didn't become interested in politics until Trump was elected.
Yeah,
and
because
I'm
I
like,
mean, Obama had his 8 years. Who was before Obama? Bush had 8 years,
Yeah.
and before that, it's been two-term presidents for a while, and it always switches after they have 2 terms.
yeah, well,
The party always switches. We've never had 2 of the same party have after an 8 term.
yeah, it does seem that way. But it kind of feels like that could be a good thing because it feels balanced. It's like we're not, so conservative for so long.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, the other party starts to get riled up after 8 years.
and
So.
after 8 years, like, this is enough. Or in our case, after 4 years, we're like, this is enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, people want to change it. And in the past, that's kept us pretty balanced. They're like, well, this guy will be like, he can't do more than 8 years.
Yeah.
And so
So
maybe we'll get our
even
say
if it's bad,
soon.
it's not that bad. It's only
Yeah.
8 years.
Yeah.
But right now, it feels different, I think.
It
Because
definitely feels
it
different.
feels so different.
I think because it's so much more drastic this time than it's, at least in our lifetime, than it's been in our lifetime.
Yeah, it's really drastic. Remember, there was a time where like presidents used to win by a landslide.
Yeah.
It'll probably. I mean, I'm not going to say like all is lost. It might happen again in the future. But like Republicans and Democrats alike, they have lost trust in a lot of parts of the system, and I think that's going to remain. And so if one loses, then they're just going to assume that something was off, or on one side, or either the other side might think that like they just can't survive another 4 years with this president. So there might be more drastic measures that people take to try to balance it out rather than just wait it out.
I guess to the other extreme, let's say Biden does lose. Let's say there's like a recount or the ballots that mailed in suddenly total up to something we weren't expecting or what we aren't seeing right now being reported. What do you think that'll say for America? What do you think will happen if Trump's reelected?
Ooh.
Or is that something you'd
It's a
rather not
loaded
think about?
question.
It's like the question, what do you think will happen if this bad thing happens?
Yeah.
I don't really want to imagine this bad thing happening.
Do you think America could remain a superpower under Trump? Or do you think that if he pulls out of enough agreements and turns enough countries against him or against America, do you think he could cause the fall?
I think he has the potential to do something like that, but again, it's only 4 more years. And that would I think it would take a much longer time for something like that to happen.
I do kind of see though, like if Trump continues like
I think
for 4
America
years,
in itself would implode before the rest of the world imploded around us. So
it'll keep changing. I think whether the US's power has actually changed or not, like outside, how people see the US has changed a lot, and it'll continue to maybe not see the US as a country to emulate or a country to copy.
Mm-hmm.
Like so far, it has kind of seemed that way with a lot of countries. So like, let's try to do it the US way, or the US says this, so maybe that's a good idea. Like I'm not from another country, and so but that kind of privilege, like we're losing it pretty fast, and I think we'll just continue to like
yeah, we'll
lose the
definitely
outside
continue
privilege.
losing it.
I'm not saying that's a completely bad thing, to have like a monopoly on how people think about your country, but it'll happen more so if Trump continues.
And especially because not only like in terms of democracy and liberal rights and everything, but in terms of economy, like economically, America is now losing to, I think, China, because China suppressed the coronavirus, and they're one of the only countries that have like positive GDP growth rate.
Yeah, I think the
And
GDP
America
is
obviously
expected
has,
to
like-
pass America by
Because
2050
they're
or
like
something.
this coronavirus is struggle. Like it hit so hard in America,
Yeah.
but it didn't hit so hard in China. So I think like both economically and both in liberally, like Trump is losing to China, and not like liberally he's losing to himself, but like economically he's losing to China, and it feels, what is the point of keeping him? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he was meant to make America great again, and increase their economy, but somehow he fails.
He claims he succeeded, though. And that's the thing, a lot of his supporters only listen to what he says and not anything else. So
Didn't he claim
hate
he won
speech.
the election like a
Yes.
Thursday night or something? He's like, I did it, I won. And everyone was like, no, I don't think it's been called yet. Yeah, it's very weird to see a president, I guess, be like, this is the truth, when like there's so many facts out there that are like, no,
Yeah.
you're disproven. Like, you can't just say you've won an election. It's very like, it's more dystopic than what I'd imagine America being.
yeah.
So many crazy elections conducted recently. The one in Belarus also, when basically the president says, "Oh, I won with 80% of votes," and everyone feels like, "I didn't vote for him. Did you vote for him? No, I didn't. You vote for him? No, I didn't." And everyone's like, 80%? Really? There should be at least like 4 members of my family voting for him to win. But this doesn't happen. So yeah, it's everyone's like, no, it doesn't happen. It does have to be this way. It's a lie. And yeah, basically like many elections around the world were so crazy recently, because there's a clash of, I think it's like a clash of authoritarian regime now with our liberal values that are spread through the internet, through the means of like, we're becoming like more cosmopolitan, and the older authoritarian regime is still in power. And so there is a huge clash between those two now. Because I've never seen like presidents in CIS in my country before having this much trouble to be elected, because they now have to lie openly. They now have to like, replace the ballots, do things to win. But previously they were just like, yeah, I won, and everyone was like, yeah, okay. And now it's so much like clash between those two. It's really fascinating. I find it like a really difficult time for the world to live in, because democratic values are spreading, and still some orthodox things are staying in power.
It's really, because America has such influence over the world. It's like, even if you're not living there or you're not near America, we're all talking about this. This is like the big event. Like, we're in a pandemic still, but this is it. This is the big event that's happening. And we're all just kind of like waiting to see what they're going to do next. And it's almost, we're not reliant, but we're very influenced by the results of this election.
Politics are a very hard thing to discuss, and I'm not very well versed in most political things, so please be patient if I say something strange. But it was really fun to be able to talk with you guys, and so thank you for inviting me. And I hope everyone is safe and happy after the election results all come out. That's what I want.
Yeah, I mean, I have the same sentiments as Leslie. I don't know a lot about American politics. I've never been overly involved in them, but it was nice to talk about it. It's always interesting to talk with people who aren't from the U.S., so I feel like they're more open to your opinions, whereas everyone in the U.S. has their own opinions.
They want to throw things at you, be like, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
We don't care.
Yeah.
No, actually,
Thank you
we do
for
care.
inviting me.
Actually, we do care, because like many things in the world rely on America, and many things are so dependent from America, especially like, I don't know, like even the amount of money I have right now in my pockets is dependent on America, because it's tied to dollar and to the exchange rate. So it's really sensitive.
I have friends who are watching the election results because she does stocks, and she's Korean, and so she her whole company was like looking at the election results.
Yeah, what's going to happen.
Yeah, the stocks.
So yeah, we all keep a close eye on the elections and on the USA in general, because it's a really like, it's the top country, obviously. It was, and it will be for some time. And yeah, so that's why I think it was a really interesting session. And thank you, Isabelle, for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate your contribution to our podcasts.
Yeah.
We should clarify that we're very thankful for you and for you coming, Sue, but
Well, yes,
she is a member
Sorry,
of
no,
NOVAsia.
sorry.
this is our guest, and then you're also our guest, but you're also a member of the team.
It's
so.
just default. Like, thank you to all Novasians and to the person who comes here.
Thank you for agreeing to do this last minute, because I approached you very
problem.
last minute to do this. And for sharing your opinions and not trying to censor yourselves too much, or like try and be delicate around certain things, just really voicing your opinions and letting us hear what you guys think. Because I think it's really interesting for those of us who, like Dmitry was saying, are on the outside, but like are also so intertwined and want to know, and don't really have the opportunity to be like, how does it work? What are these things that we're discussing, and how is our lives going to be impacted by what's going to come from this? So I think
Yeah.
it'll be exciting in the next few days. Probably by the time this podcast is out, the election results will be announced, or depending on how long it takes to count ballots, and if there's and if there's there will probably be a recount. Trump will probably order that, and we're not really sure what's going to happen, but yeah, I guess that's
Find out.
Thank you for
anyway.
watching,
Keep going.
and please subscribe to NOVAsia, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you.